All right. All right, hello everybody. Today is day 2 of working with Zuko. He recently blew an abscess in his foot, so he's been off for a little while, and I haven't really had much time to work with him since the previous video. Today, I'm just going to do a little bit of refresher on yielding to pressure, and then I am also going to teach him how to back up via yielding to pressure in preparation to start lunging and long lining and things like that. So ultimately what I'll do to start off is I will just run through everything that we did in the last video really quickly, just making sure that he is still knowledgeable of those things. He's probably a little bit rusty. I noticed that after his abscess blew, he has been a lot less depressed. And so because of that, because he was a little bit depressed mentally when I initially was working with him, his demeanor may be a little bit different working today because it's going to be more of his candid self. Alrighty, so I'm going to start by yielding the hind end here. Starting with my lowest pressure possible, I'm simply going to present the rope to him, looking at his hind end. His ear is flicking towards it. He's considering what that means, what it is I'm asking him to do. I'm going to slowly bring up the pressure. And there he goes. He moves over quite nicely. I'll let him rest for a moment. Think about that. So he's a lot more interested in walking around now that he's feeling better. So what I will do for that is I will let him walk around, but then I will stop him where I want him again. So I'm not going to yank on his face. I'm not going to come after him or punish him or anything like that. But simply, I'm going to kind of convey to him that it's okay if you lose your attention for a second and go off over there. But you got to come back and sit and stand with me quietly so that we can continue what we were doing together. So again, I'm going to simply present the rope to him. He's got an itchy spot, so I'm going to wait until he deals with that before asking him for something, because I always want to have my horse's full attention on me, because I want to set them up for success. Never want to ask them something when they're distracted, when I know they won't have the attention span for it. All right. He's got his ears towards it. He's thinking about it. I'm going to make some light contact here. And immediately he steps over. That's very good. I'll let him relax for a second. All right, I'll do with the forehand now. This is the more difficult one. I'm going to block his face here. Very good. And immediately steps over. Eventually, I'll be looking for him to pivot on his hind end. But for right now, since he had a lateral step with that front right foot, I will accept that for now. I'll ask one more time on this side, and then I'll switch over to the other side. That's not quite what I'm wanting. I just block that answer. Nope, not asking for that either. I'm going to organize my rope a little bit. There we go. We got a side step there. We've got lots and lots of flies right now. So he's really struggling with focusing on getting these horse flies off of him and focusing on me at the same time. So I'm going to be nice and patient with him. Already I'm getting a little bit of shifting of weight here, and we got to step over. Very good. I will release on that. Very good. So he seems to be familiar with what we taught before, which I was expecting from him. He's exploring something right now. He's given a little sniff. So I'm just going to let him do that. First thing I noticed when I picked this guy up at the track is that he would literally walk around just like this, dragging his nose on the floor, tracking scents. And so that is a sense that we can use in training and intuition and understanding what our horse is thinking, what they're processing. And so I want to encourage his natural inclination to smell. Because the more that he smells, the more he's going to figure out what's going on around him, and the less he will be alarmed by his surroundings, the less that he will find spooky. This guy's already really not very spooky. I've put the tarp on him. I've thrown bouncy balls at him just to see how he reacts. And he really doesn't at all. All right, so I'm going to work on backing him up. As far as I know, he's never done an exercise like this. The big reason why I teach this is it's a great tool to have in your box for safety and implementing different behaviors. So when I ask him to start lunging for me, I never like to send a horse out straight from when they're right next to me. Because if he's got some sillies to get out, if he wants to buck and run and play, I want him to do that over there. I don't want him to do it in my space. And so when I ask my horses to lunge, I first ask them to back up away from me to a safe distance. And then I ask them to yield their shoulder over, stepping over with the forehand, pivoting on the hind quarters, so that they're not bulging into the center of the circle. So I'm going to ask him to move over slightly so that he's completely parallel to this wall. Very good. And he walked through and forward, and I was too slow to block him, so that's my fault. We'll just reset it up again. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do here with him is I'm going to stand right here. He's very good about, he's not the type of horse to be in your space and come up and try to see what's in your pocket. So he's very good about staying there. And so ultimately, that's an example of me blocking him coming forward. I'm going to do something similar to ask him to go back. In fact, I think I'll get the stick as well, just for a little bit more handleability. So I like to show all these processes while I'm training. I've decided to go and grab the stick in addition to just having my lead rope, just purely seeing that he may not respond as much as I want to this pressure, but I also don't want to make it too big and desensitize him to it. So in order to avoid that, I will have an extra tool here just so I can more evenly increase the pressure at a consistent rate so that I get a response, so that and there's a block, I don't want him to go out, I want him to stay right there. And I'm not coming after him with the whip, I'm just blocking him. And he's got another horse fly on him. I'll get it for you, buddy. I'll get it for you. Don't worry, I'll get it. I know. God, they're coming after both of us. I got flies in my eye. He's got flies biting him. All right. Seems to be abandoned us for a little bit. So what I'm going to do, in order to ask him back up, I have him up against this wall so that if he decides to go this way, I can block him, and he doesn't have the option to go that way. So setting up for success, he has two options, go out or go back. I'm going to block this option so that his only option is to go back, so that he can choose on his own will to go back. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stand in a place where he can see me. I'm out of his blind spot here. If I were to be right here, when he has his head up, he cannot see me right here because they have a blind spot right in the middle of their vision. And so I'm going to push my energy towards him like this. I'm going to stand towards him. I'm going to wiggle the rope a little bit. I'm going to see if that gives any response. He's mostly just focused on his itchy legs. I'm going to redirect his energy. Oh, this goddamn fly. Just let it land and I'll kill it. If you let it land, I'll kill it. Let it land, I'll kill it. All right. Looks like the fly has abandoned us for a second. Hopefully it'll go and antagonize some other horse that I'm not working with right now. I'm going to ask him to move over to the wall. Very good, boy. Very good. So I blocked him there from walking into me. Just gently redirecting him. Alrighty, so now I'm going to ask for that backup. I'm going to start by pushing my energy towards him. I'm going to start wiggling this a little bit, see if that gives him a response. I'm going to tap him on the shoulder. And then the second he gives, I'm going to release. Second he gives, I'm going to release. There we go. We've got a little bit of an exhale there. Got some blinking. Alrighty. So I'm going to start again. Energy towards him. A little bit of wiggle. A little bit of escalation. A little bit of escalation. There we go, and release. So in the beginning, eventually, when I step towards him, I want him to back until I exhale and tell him to stop. But right now, it's a new ask of him. He's still figuring out what it is that I'm asking him to do. So the second that he goes in the direction that I'm wanting him to do, I'm going to release my pressure, and that is his reward. All right, let's go once more, and then we'll change directions and attack it from the other direction. So I'm going to step towards him. He's got his ears pointed towards me a little bit. He flicked towards me. He's noticing my body language here. I'm going to start by wiggling the rope, and then I'm going to come through with the whip as well. There we go. And he's still focusing on those flies, so I'm going to be lenient with him. Very good. I'm going to ask him to back just once more. There we go. And so now I'm going to ask him to come and turn around me. I haven't taught him to do this yet. It's going to be yielding his forehand. He's going to sit back on his hindquarters, step his forehand over. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up with my right hand and my right leg. I'm going to invite him to go that way. And then with my stick in my left hand, I'm going to encourage him to move over by targeting his outside shoulder. And I'm going to block him from coming forward towards me. Because that will be a bad habit if I allow that. Because when we come and we start lunging him on the circle, I never want him to fall in on the circle towards me unless I call him in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up here. I'm going to say, nope, not towards me. Over to the side. And we've got a step over there. That was beautiful, exactly what we're looking for. And he parked himself perfectly there. Look at that. Beautiful job, Zuko. Very good job. I'm going to ask him to go the other way now. Not towards me, but out and away from me. There we go. Very good. And I want him to keep going. I want him to park all the way over there. Very good. And see, he even got almost a little side pass there. It's not necessarily that I'm asking for the side pass, but it's important that through all of this groundwork, you'll see them perform movements that are more complicated movements that eventually I'll ask him under saddle. And so if he is able to do that on his own, which all of these dressage movements are natural movements, If he's able to do them on his own, then later when we have a rider and I've established communication with him, it'll be a lot easier for him physically and mentally for this all to translate. And so I didn't ask him to leave his spot. So I'm going to create this wall. He's coming towards the pressure, so I'm just going to tag him there lightly, put him back where he belongs. That's good. And I'll release a second before I ask him to straighten up. I'd like you to move over just a little bit more, sir. He's confused. He doesn't know what I want. There we go. Up. There we go. And there's the release. There's the reward. That's where you're supposed to be. All right. So once more, I'm going to ask him to back up. I've got my stick in my right hand to block him from going that way. I'm going to let him itch here. I'm going to step towards him. I'm going to wiggle this rope a little bit, see if we get a response. Not much of a response here. I'm going to ask him to back up with the stick. Nope, not that way. There we go. There we've got a backup. He is so goofy. He loves doing that, crossing his legs. All right, one more backup. There we go. There's a backup. Alrighty, I'm going to ask him to come around. Not towards me, but step over. There we go. It's okay. And so he's getting alarmed here. He says, what is she asking me to do? I'm just going to stay consistent. Because if I were to escalate here, we could get things like a rear. Very good. And he stepped out and over. Immediately, I'm going to drop my pressure. And he's parked himself up perfectly here. And again, I haven't done this with him before. This is brand new that you guys are seeing. I don't know what they did with him on the track, but I'm assuming it's not this. And so I'm going to back him up this way too. So I've got, once again, I'm going to block him from going out. There we go. And once you go back, we release. Now notice I'm not escalating there. I'm not coming after him with the rope. I'm simply matching his pressure with my pressure. He decided to come out. I needed to block him and correct him. He kept coming into the pressure, so I matched how much he was pushing against me with how much I began to push against him. And then when he froze with his head up, I'm going to keep my pressure consistent because I don't want to escalate from there. When he's got his head up and he's frozen, he's trying to process. And if you push him over that edge, then they'll shut down. So I don't want to get to that point. I want to get to the point where he might be a little bit uncomfortable because he's learning something new, but he's still processing everything that's going on. So I'm going to get ready to ask him to back up again. I'm going to step towards him with my energy. I'm going to give him a little wiggle with the rope. See if we get anything from this. There we go. Beautiful. That was the first time I was able to get him to back up without using the stick. I'm going to let him sit and wait and think about that for a second. Got a little bit of licking here. We got some blinking going on. Dropped head. It's good. It's what we're looking for. Excuse me. All right, one more time. I'm going to step towards him with my energy. He's already noticing it. He's already shifting his weight. I'm going to give him a little bit of this. See if we can get it. There we go. That's exactly what I'm looking for, Zook. Good boy. Alrighty, I'm going to ask him to go back around me the other way. He's looking at my hand. He's thinking about what that means. That's what I love about this horse. Immediately, he's trying to figure it out. I'm going to give him a little energy here. Very good. And immediately, he steps around. I'll give him a little energy so that he can park up for me. Thank you so much. Good boy. And so all of this is going to translate to under saddle as well. When I want him to get up close to a gate, side pass into it so I can open and close it, he'll be able to learn that quite easily because he's learning that pressure from the side means to move over from the side. And so he's going to have that same pressure from the side under saddle, just it's going to feel a little bit different. But it is going to remind him of something that we've worked before on the ground. Whoop. I'm juggling too many flies and whips at the same time. So I'm going to ask him to back up once more. I'm going to step forward with my energy. I'm going to use the rope. See if he would like to go off of that. I'm going to block. That's okay. And ask again. There we go. Even though that was just an inch. Even though that was just an inch. That was exactly what we're looking for. All right. Flies are bad today. All right. Let's ask him again. I'm going to ask him to back up a little bit. We've got some shifting of weight here. He's crossing his legs. I'm going to try a few more times. That was a little bit of a yield. It wasn't directly back, but it did yield away. So I will release on that. Let's send him out one more time. Not towards me. There we go. And we have a deliberate step over. That's very good. And I'm going to draw him into me. So it's the opposite of when I'm pushing him away. I'm going to step back a little bit. I'm only barely putting pressure on the lead rope here. I'm going to step back a little bit, draw him in. Drawing him in. I know. I missed her. Yes. Good boy. Alrighty. And that's what we'll call it for today. I like to keep these things short and sweet, especially with these young brains that are coming down from being off the track or learning a new job. And he's still not 100% sound. He's not as in much pain as he was earlier when he was four-legged lame. But I still want to give him time to mentally and physically recuperate. I'm going to be giving him some massages to get him loosened up, release some tension that he no doubt accumulated while bracing on this right front to alleviate the left front. So